Hello, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of Off the Beaten Path, the show that looks at paranormal events both historically as well as in modern day times. As always, I'm your host, Rev.Hagen, and as always, I'd like to welcome our listeners at SCRMradio.com. That's Scream. Radio.com. Scream Radio is the only 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year live streaming horror radio station on planet Earth. The philosophy is Halloween is not a holiday, it's a way of life. If you love horror, if you love stuff about the industry, if you love creepypastas, if you love interviews with directors and upcoming stars as well as upcoming writers, shows like this, Reverend Hagen's Horrific Cinematic Dissection is also on Scream Radio. Please, check the link down below. Check these guys out, or us out, I should say. You're absolutely going to love them. I would also like to start off with an apology. I have not been on the air for almost a month now, getting close to a month. Had some health issues. Sorry, I don't know what to say, but I'm feeling much better now. I've got that ADEM, this autoimmune gig that kind of kicks my butt every now and then. But regardless, we're back now. It's very exciting. Another announcement. I entered a contest at, Black Cat Podcast, on Twitter, where you answer a trivia question from one of their old shows, and it's blackcatsshadow.com, which will also be listed down below. Shows these fantastic podcasts about the horror industry, little horror skits, the whole 9 yards. Anyway, I entered this contest, and I won. I won every Paranormal Activity movie in one convenient set right here. So a huge shout out to these guys. I never won anything. blackcatsshadow.com. Phantom Dark Dave on Twitter as well. His YouTube channel as well as his Twitter feed will be down here in the notes below. Check these guys out. Really creative, really fun, really great podcasts. So thank you kindly. Very exciting. Now, today's episode is on Crossroads, and a little more in depth of making a deal with a demon or a devil on the crossroads. We're going to look at this phenomenon, both historically and in modern day times. Who knew? Very exciting. But before we start with that, the format of the show has changed a bit, so I'm going to give you a little paranormal story before the big one. And this one is just kind of a cool story to me, even though I'm not Christian or Catholic in any way, shape, or form. If you've watched the show before, you know that I am not a reverend of a Christian religion. I'm actually a priest of Wicca, but a legal reverend nonetheless. So this story is about St. Dunstan. Now, St. Dunstan was kind of the safeguard for the church in the 10th century in England. Kind of guided the religious fate of the church, as it were, in England at the time in the 10th century. Now, he was an Archbishop of Canterbury. He reformed pretty much the monastic life in England at the time, and he was also a blacksmith, and a skilled artist and a harpist. It goes on and on. But he's canonized. He's a saint, St. Dunstan, right? One of the other things he's very famous for is battling the devil in Europe, which he did in England, apparently, quite a few times. But I'm only going to share one story with you where he battled the devil, and that was when he was playing the harp. I believe this was his last encounter with the Lord of Darkness. He was playing his harp. This vagabond, or kind of a homeless guy, came up to him, who was actually the devil in disguise and was there to trick St. Dunstan. Well, St. Dunstan, being no fool, quickly grabbed this guy by his hoof, which was probably a dead giveaway that he was the devil, and shoot him. He put horseshoes on him, on his hoofs, and the devil lost his mind and begged him to take these off. Now, you would think that a fallen angel would be able to take off horseshoes on his cloven hooves. I would think so anyway, but not the case. Maybe he was, maybe they were made of iron. He has the same aversion that the Fae do or the ghosts do. Like if you're trying to catch a spirit, put an iron nail into a shadow. He's not going anywhere, apparently. And iron is the bane of the Fae, as well as other supernatural entities. I have actually a cast iron sword and a cast iron dagger, because you can never have too many cast iron weapons when you're dealing with the paranormal. Let's be honest. So anyway, the devil is, I digressed once again, but the devil's thrashing around, begging for relief. And St. Dunstan tells him, I will free you if you agree never to enter a house where somebody has hung a horseshoe over the entryway. The devil agrees. He's let go. And now we hang horseshoes above our doorsteps for good luck. But back in the day, this was to stave off the devil. So now you know why we hang horseshoes above the door. At least one of the stories. There's probably thousands of stories why people hang horseshoes for good luck. But that's my favorite because it's the only one I know, if I'm being brutally honest. All right, let's get to the story. This is Crossroads. So we're going to look at this a couple of ways here. The basic idea of the Crossroads is you would go to a crossroads kind of out in the middle of nowhere usually. Perform some sort of ritual to call an entity or a demon or the devil himself, depending on what version of this story you're hearing, and make your wish, make your dreams come true, whether it's for fame and fortune, be the best guitar player on the planet, be the best dancer, be the best artist, just have fame and fortune. All the stories kind of vary, but they're all pretty much the same way. Make me the best at something, right? This is the way a lot of these stories are told. The idea that the crossroads are somehow mystical, though, goes back thousands of years. Now, I probably could have gone back all the way back to Samaria, but sadly, I don't know cuneiform, and I got lazy and I stopped at the Greeks. But I did go all the way back to the Greeks, so, throw me a bone here, people. In Greece, at the crossroads, they would erect stone effigies of Hermes. You got Hermes, and in Roman times, it was kind of the similar god Mercury, and they were the guardian of the crossroads. Let's say in India, it was the god Bhairava. Pardon my butchering of this deity, please, have mercy. Bhairava, who's an older version actually of the god Siva, who guarded the outskirts of villages. It kind of marked where their territory ended and where the outside world began, the crossroads to them from their world into the other world. They erected a lot of phalluses, if we're being honest. Erecting phalluses, I know, easy, people, just easy. But they would erect these phalluses as well as eyes to represent their god as the guardian of their boundaries, of the crossroads from their land into anybody else's land. In Guatemalan and was the old Mayan god of the underworld, Ma'am, who's also can be depicted unbelievably, because it gets weird in South America, and in our South with the slave trade and hoodoo and voodoo, everything kind of gets mixed up. But Ma'am was also depicted as the Saint Simon, or Maximin, generally had this guy depicted in a chair at the crossroads, right? And I know this is dry stuff. We're almost through the dry part of this, I promise you. I just want to show you that this is not just historical, but global. And in Africa, there were so many gods at the crossroads, but primarily like Legba, Ishu, Izu, Nuumba, Papa Legba in hoodoo, and a lot of hoodoo and voodoo traditions, was the guardian of the crossroads, and is closely related to Saint Peter, who was kind of the guardian of the crossroads of heaven and earth, right? Whether you were allowed to go into heaven or whether you were thrown down the other way, down to hell. But Papalegba and St. Peter are very almost mixed and matched. And again, that's because a lot of the slaves that came over into our South and into South America and the Caribbean took their religion and mixed it with Christianity. And you get a lot of saints that are associated with a lot of the Loa of hoodoo and voodoo, which are the gods of hoodoo and voodoo. Interesting, I know, absolutely fascinating. Um, and also, in Europe, all throughout the history of Europe, there have been this idea that a lot of dancers, like I said before, artists, musicians, would go to the Crossroads to have their time in the spotlight, to be a star, to be the best, or whatever the case may be. And I'm going to see this one from the 11th century that kind of bothers me. It's a homily called De Falsis Deus, and I'm going to read it to you because, yes, apparently it's that important. It goes, there was also a man called Mercury. He was very crafty and deceitful in deed and trickiness, though his speech was fully plausible. The heathens made him a renowned god for themselves. At Crossroads, they offered sacrifices to him frequently, and they often erringly brought praise offerings to hilltops, all through the devil's teachings. This false god was honored among the heathens in that day, and he is also called by the name Odin in the Danish manner. Odin. Now, Odin is actually my main man. He's my deity. I consider myself a son of Odin, not in a gang kind of way or in any weird heathenry, which is what people that follow the Norse path now call themselves. Not in any way, shape, or form like that. I just, as a Norwegian, and believing that Odin did create the Norse people, I believe that I have the blood of Odin in me, and that's what called me to the Norse gods. Probably a little bit more information that you wanted, but you got it anyway. So that was a very Christian view of Odin as the trickster, but also as the guardian of the Crossroads. You could also easily say that the gods of the old religion became the devils of the new religion in a lot of different ways that Christianity took over a lot of the free world at the time. And again, I digression, but we're here to educate. Remember, in modern day times, you've got what kind of is wild to me is I found out this through pop culture. I can't remember what I was watching when I was younger. But it was a story of an old blues guy and how he became famous, and that the devil was coming to get his soul because he had sold it at the Crossroads to become the best blues guitar player on the planet, right? Which is actually depicted in the movie Crossroads, an 80s movie with Little Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, who at the end guitar battles Steve Vai, who was kind of a metal god at the time, for his soul playing the guitar. Great scene, great movie, very Karate Kid ending. I think you guys are going to love it. But that's literally about that deal, that Crossroads deal. And of course, Supernatural. Well, Devil went down to Georgia with the fiddle playing slap nuts, whatever. Charlie Daniels. That's who I was trying to think of. No offense, Mr. Daniels. His music's just not my brand of vodka. But it's another example of the Crossroads. Supernatural, 13 years on the air. Every season they have had a deal with Crossroad Demons or some kind of gig with Crossroad Demons. Say what you want about the show, whether you hate it or love it. It's part of pop culture now. There's nothing you can do about it. And weirdly, in the paranormal, that's where a lot of people get their actual information on the paranormal is from Supernatural. Makes me want to punch people in the head. And if I was going to punch anybody, it'd be that whiny Sam. But that's all I've got to say about it. Do you need a hug? Sam, yeah, I got your hug. Anyway, driving on. Now, apparently, in modern day times, there are a lot of people look at the story of Robert Johnson, right? Robert Johnson is considered one of the greatest guitar players that ever lived. But a lot of people think this guy sold his soul at a Crossroads meeting to get his prowess with the guitar, right? And the reason they think that is he was never very good at the guitar as a kid. In high school, he was average at best. And then at 18, all of a sudden, he's a virtuoso. He's the Eddie Van Halen, the Amadeus, if you will, of his time. Just this phenomenal blues guitar player that went from kind of, you're all right, to holy crap in the span of no time at all. So, of course, naturally, people believe that he made this deal with the devil. And very famously, it's very famous, this very famous association between Robert Johnson and the Crossroads deal. But the reality is a little weirder than that. It was another guy named Tommy Johnson, not Robert Johnson, but Tommy Johnson, who was actually a friend of Paul Johnson, or of Robert Johnson. Paul, I don't know where that came from, of Robert Johnson. But this guy, Tommy Johnson, when they said, how did you learn how to play? You're amazing. And he would say, I went down to the Crossroads with my guitar and I played for a little bit. And a black man approached me. Now, when he said black man, he was not referring to an African American. He was talking about a man who was black, who the absence of color black, right? Who would take his guitar, take Tommy's guitar and tune it, this black man, and play a song. And when he handed the guitar back to Tommy, he would know that song. That's how he says that he became the guitar player that he was. Who knows, right? But really cool that we actually have, oh no, this guy was around, a couple generation or so ago and has a story to tell. Well, that's the story that he told. I find that absolutely cool and absolutely fascinating. Like, what really happened there? And what I can tell you is this. What do we know in the occult community and the paranormal community about Crossroads? Well, I'll tell you. Crossroads are thought to be where two worlds actually intersect. In fact, I think I've got even a term for it here. Yeah, there. Do I have a term for it? No, apparently I don't. But there is a term for it. It's where the two worlds intersect, right? And I believe it's called. It doesn't matter what it's called, but it's where two worlds intersect, right? And the space between those two worlds, which is the space between them is either our world or the world that's intersecting with ours, but is a different space altogether where we can communicate. That's what a lot of pagans and a lot of people that deal in the occult believe Crossroads is that space right there, right? Other people believe that huge nexuses, is that a word? A huge hub like San Francisco, where you've got boats coming in, you've got planes coming in, you've got people walking, driving, all getting to San Francisco to go someplace else, like people coming from across the ocean or people coming from across our nation to go across the ocean from there. That would be a crossroads. That would be a nexus, if you will. So would Chicago, so would Tokyo, so would New York, Hong Kong, London. These would all be nexuses, which many people believe that one of the reasons, not just that they're port cities, but one of the reasons they become such a nexus is because of the travel. And that because of that, many ley lines go through those major areas. In fact, that even a crossroads would be a bisection or intersection, of ley lines. And if you don't know what a ley line is, supposedly that there is a grid of power lines of power around our Earth, right? Kind of like the longitude and latitude lines that we navigate the Earth by, but these are energy lines, and they don't follow the same patterns as the ley lines. And that you can tap into these ley lines, these power lines, to perform and manipulate energy, right? Magic, as the occult likes to term it. There's even, you can buy maps of ley lines, right? But that the crossroads could possibly be two of these intersecting. And they're not always the big ones like airports and that kind of thing, or large cities, urban areas. But even I lived in Roseman out in the desert out here, and there was a confluence of ley lines, supposedly, right where I was living, at at a mobile home park out in the middle of nowhere. It was a trailer park, but a mobile home park out in the middle of nowhere, right? Where these two worlds supposedly intersect. So is that a real crossroads, though? Do you know what I mean? Is that what they mean by crossroads? And there's a lot of confusion about that. I know that when I looked into this, as far as hoodoo and voodoo go, they get into it. There's even supposedly, if you go to a crossroads for 9 Sundays in a row, right? And on the 9th Sunday at 9 o'clock, you could ask your gig, right? That would be how you would manifest it. But you have to be there. You have to commit to doing this. God, there are so many different ways about summoning something at a crossroads. It's just ridiculous. But the crazy thing is in the hoodoo tradition as well. And I know I'm digressing here a bit, but what they do is they have this amazing, I can't remember what it's called, but basically when you're done doing a work, when you're done doing magical working, you take everything that you've used, go to a crossroads, put it in the middle of the crossroads, the middle of the intersection, walk away and never look back. It's a way of cleansing not only yourself, but your space of weird energy, right? Another way that hoodoo uses crossroads is like, I can't remember the name. I wish I could remember the name of the spell. But basically what you're doing is you want, let's say, you want to get together with somebody. You want somebody to fall in love with you, right? So from their house to your house, you go to every crossroads and perform this ritual. A ritual, right? All the way up to the person, the object of your desire. And what you're doing is creating a connectivity. You're creating a way to get that person. And conversely, and I wish I could remember the name of these rituals because they're really cool names. If you wanted to sever ties with somebody, have somebody just leave you alone or have nothing but disdain for them, you want them out of your life, you do the same thing kind of in reverse. You perform a ritual to break ties with these people, have nothing to do with them anymore, spiritually or otherwise. At every crossroads, you perform that ritual, and that breaks the bond, breaks the ties. Oh, super cool as far as I'm concerned. I thought that was super, super cool. So, I mean, that's really a look at the phenomenon. You can call it folklore. You can. Some people, literally, some people think this is an actual gig. It is. The idea of creating a space between two worlds is very occult. It's what you do when you cast a circle. If you actually want to perform a spell, if I'm being honest, and I'm not giving away any occult secrets by saying that. It's in a gazillion books published out there. So when we do that, are we creating a crossroads? I don't know. It sounds very similar to any magical working that I've ever been involved with. Casting a circle, creating that space between the worlds where you can either communicate or create power and release that power. All very, very similar, very, very kind of cool. I really hope you dig the show. I love being back. I love being back on the air. Love talking to you guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com. My Patreon page is coming up. You can contribute to the show. You also get, as a patron, special episodes that are only for the Patreon page, which is kind of cool. So please, if you can donate. If you want to do it just one time, you can. Or if you want to contribute monthly, you can do that as well. Be sure to visit our Patreon page. Also, if you've got an idea for the show, please shoot it to me at rev.hagen@gmail.com, rev.hagen@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell for the notifications when new shows are coming out. Again, I would really like to thank Black Cat's show and Black Cat podcast for this amazing DVD. I won something. It's very exciting. Something else that's going to be happening in the next couple days that I'm probably just going to do one of, because there's so many of them out there, is I'm opening up a Fright Crate when it comes. I'm very excited about that. Going to open that on air, and I know a lot of you guys, a lot of my friends have Fright Crate shows. Horror addicts, love you guys. They'll be down in the comments below too, because they're such a phenomenal show. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a Fright Crate gig. That's very exciting, at least for the YouTubers. Not so much for you Scream people out there, but for the YouTubers. I can describe them, but it's just not going to be the same if you're not watching. Scream's got some really exciting stuff coming up, some really good collaborations with different people that do scary stories and creepypastas. That's really something to look forward to. And again, I really do hope that you did enjoy the show. To keep this going, I do need more support. If you can join the Patreon page, it would be greatly appreciated. I'm not going to leave you guys in the lurch as long as I've been doing. Not one show a month. Believe me, we're going to be doing at least one show a week. So there you have it. So please, 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 as always, my brothers and sisters, you keep those heads up. Have a great day.